Narthalotep, the crawling chaos. I am the last. I will tell the ardent void. I do not recall distinctly when it began, but it was months ago. The general tension was horrible. To a season of political and social upheaval was added a strange and brooding apprehension of hideous physical danger. A danger widespread and all-embracing. Such a danger as may be imagined only in the most terrible phantasms of the night. I recall that the people went about with pale and worried faces, and whispered warnings and prophecies which no one dared consciously repeat or acknowledge to himself that he had heard. A sense of monstrous guilt was upon the land, and out of the abysses between the stars swept chill currents that made men shiver in the dark and lonely places. There was a demonic altercation in the sequence of the seasons. The autumn heat lingered fearsomely, and everyone felt that the world and perhaps the universe had passed from the control of known gods or forces to that of gods and forces which were unknown. It was then that Narthalotep came out of Egypt. Who he was, none could tell, but he was of the old native blood and looked like a pharaoh. The Falahin knelt when they saw him, yet could not say why. He said he had risen up out of the blackness of 27 centuries, and that he had heard messages from places not on this planet. Into lands of civilization came Narthalotep, swarthy, slender, and sinister, always bringing strange instruments of glass and metal and combining them into instruments yet stranger. He spoke much of the sciences of electricity and psychology, and gave exhibitions of power which sent his spectators away speechless, yet which he swelled his fame to exceeding magnitude. Men advised one another to see Narthalotep, and shuddered, and where Narthalotep went, rest vanished. For the small hours were rent with the screams of nightmare. Never before had the screams of nightmare been such a problem. Now the wise men almost wished they could forbade sleep in the small hours, that the shrieks of cities might less horribly disturb the pale, pitying moon as it glimmered on green waters gliding under bridges and old steeples crumbling against a sickly sky. I remember when Narthalotep came to my city, the great, the old, the terrible city of unnumbered crimes. My friend had told me of him, and of the impelling fascination and allurement of his revelations. I burned with eagerness to explore his uttermost mysteries. My friend said they were horrible and impressive beyond my most fevered imaginings. That what was thrown on a screen in the darkened room prophesied things none but Narthalotep dared prophesy, and that in the sputter of his sparks there was taken from men that which had never been taken before, that which shewed only in the eyes, and I had not heard it hinted abroad, that those who knew Narthalotep looked on sights which others saw not. It was in hot autumn that I went through the night with the restless crowds to see Narthalotep. Through the stifling night and up the endless stairs into the choking room, and shadowed on a screen I saw hooded forms amongst the ruins, and yellow faces, evil yellow faces, peering from behind fallen monuments. And I saw the world battle against black, against the waves of destruction from ultimate space. Whirling, churning, struggling around a dimming and cooling sun. Then the sparks played amazingly around the heads of the spectators, and hair stood up on end, whilst shadows more grotesque than I can tell came out and squatted upon their heads. And when I, who was colder and more scientific than the rest, mumbled a trembling protest about imposture and static electricity, Narthalotep drave us all out, down the dizzying stairs unto the damp, hot, deserted midnight streets. I screamed aloud that I was not afraid, that I never could be afraid, and others screamed with me. For solace, we swear to one another that the city was exactly the same and still alive. And when the electric lights dimmed and faded, we cursed the company over and over and over again, and laughed at the queer faces we made.